I'm going to knock you out. Do it right now. Okay, me with you. Oh my god. Pounce on Leah for anything. No. Show right there. Camera down. Done. Sonja Morgan, once celebrated as a glamorous New York socialite, is no longer remembered just for champagne toasts and witty one-liners. In that house. You don't touch those letters. You don't touch the Morgan letters. I'm sorry you feel so upset. You know what, a partner? I remember you. You know me. Why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? I am a boss. Sonja, you're doing this, and you need to do this. No, you need to stop. Instead, her name has become tied to bankruptcy filings, multi-million-dollar judgments, and humiliating scandals splashed across headlines. From courtrooms to chaos in restaurants, from a $7 million lawsuit to trustees seizing control of her finances, Sonja's carefully crafted image of luxury has burned down in public view. She got there. She ordered food, ordered drinks. The group had an amazing time. They were partying, pre-gaming before she was going to go to a birthday party. And at the end of the night, they got the bill. It was about $1,000, and she allegedly threw a fit. So, I'm told that she called the owner, Max Tucci, and she was explaining that she's a celebrity and that she thought she was comped, and she walked out on the bill. In this story, we'll uncover the dark side behind the sparkle. The financial collapses that stripped her wealth, the public incidents that shredded her reputation, and the lingering question. Was she a victim of bad deals and exploitation, or the architect of her own downfall? This is not the Sonja Morgan Bravo wanted you to remember. This is the cautionary tale they can't control. Before Bravo cameras ever rolled, Sonja Morgan had already built her reputation as a Manhattan socialite. She was known on the Upper East Side for glamorous parties, connections to wealthy circles, and a lifestyle that most only dream about. When she joined the Real Housewives of New York City in Season 3, she seemed like the perfect fit. Witty, eccentric, effortlessly charming. Her on-screen persona was the life of the party. A jet-setter, a hostess, a woman who mixed humor with glamour. I was going to be pulled out of the audience. Just tell me what I have to do. I'm ready. Let on. I love making people laugh. I may be out of practice in the bedroom, but it doesn't mean I can't perform when it counts. But while viewers laughed at her quirky one-liners and over-the-top antics, a darker reality was lurking beneath the surface. That expensive image, the champagne, the designer gowns, the townhouse dinners, wasn't as secure as it looked. Behind the sparkle was a woman walking on thin financial ice, one bad investment away from collapse. The truth is, Sonja Morgan wasn't just selling a lifestyle. She was also masking growing financial exposure, risky business ventures, and decisions that would eventually destroy her fortune. Real Housewives of New York, Sonja Morgan has filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy today, and her debts are twice that of Teresa Giudice. She is in the third season of Bravo's The Real Housewives of New York, and she listed debts totaling $19.8 million in her bankruptcy petition. She stated, "The decision to seek bankruptcy relief was not an easy one. But unfortunately, I am at a crossroads in my life." In 2010, the glamorous facade crumbled. Sonja Morgan filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. What the world saw as a woman living in luxury was suddenly exposed in cold legal documents, millions of dollars in debt, creditors lining up, and a reality star forced into financial reorganization. In Sonja's case, the filing revealed staggering liabilities. One of the biggest blows came from a disastrous movie deal gone wrong, a business venture that collapsed, leaving her personally responsible for millions. Creditors alleged unpaid loans, broken contracts, and years of mismanagement. The numbers were shocking. Reports placed her total debts at over $19 million, with one judgment alone tied to that failed film project, hitting her for $7 million. For a Bravo star whose image was built on wealth, the bankruptcy was humiliating proof that all that glitz was borrowed shine. The single biggest blow to Sonja Morgan's financial life came from a Hollywood deal gone horribly wrong. The case centered on Hannibal Pictures, a film financing company. Years earlier, Sonja had been involved in a planned movie project, a flashy venture she believed would pay off big, but the financing collapsed. Hannibal Pictures claimed Sonja had entered into binding agreements and then failed to deliver on her obligations. The lawsuit dragged through the courts, and in the end, the judgment was devastating. Over $7 million owed. For a Bravo personality who made her name flashing wealth, that judgment was a brutal reality check. Overnight, she wasn't just a fun socialite on television. She was a debtor with millions in legal obligations. Her professional credibility shredded, Sonja Morgan's case took a darker turn. The court appointed a trustee to take over her bankruptcy estate. Sonja was stripped of control. A court-appointed overseer now managed her assets, her debts, and her future. Vendors who said they were stiffed by Sonja's unpaid bills came forward. For Sonja Morgan, the humiliation was total. She wasn't just a reality star going through a rough patch. She was a debtor under supervision. A woman whose financial empire had been legally taken away from her. The Bravo cameras showed the funny, tipsy hostess. The courtroom revealed someone stripped of power, fighting for scraps of her once grand life. Court judgments and bankruptcy filings don't stay hidden, especially when you live your life on national television. Once the $7 million judgment and trustee oversight were in play, creditors needed to be repaid. That meant Sonja Morgan's assets went under the microscope. Over the years, Sonja was forced to list and sell properties, sometimes at steep discounts. Probably asked you about the townhouse every time, and it finally sold. How do you feel about that? It's such a relief. I need to hold her hand. Okay. She's lived the pain and the post-traumatic stress with me. Every time I would list it, I would rent it because I have to pay the bills every month. This time I said auction it. I want out. I want a finite time. I am out. I sold the furniture. I'm feeling much lighter, and I'm figuring I'm going to eat more, sleep more, and get laid more. New York City property records confirmed the listings while press outlets amplified the spectacle. Reality star forced to sell mansion. Fire sale of socialites' assets. The optics were brutal. The Bravo fanbase had been sold an image of endless wealth, luxury homes, designer fashion, constant parties. Suddenly, that glamour was being dismantled piece by piece in the public eye. If the bankruptcy painted Sonja Morgan as financially reckless, the public incidents of 2024 and 2025 painted her as personally unstable. Sonja Morgan from the Real Housewives of New York has allegedly been blacklisted from one of her favorite restaurants after failing to pay her bill. Page 6 said that the former reality star caused quite a scene at NoHo hotspot Tucci on Saturday after the restaurant refused to comp her bill. They claimed that she called the owner, Max Tucci, after being handed a $1,000 check, demanding a comp because, among other things, she's a single mother. Multiple outlets reported on an alleged dispute at a New York restaurant where Sonja was accused of walking out on a bill. Venue staff claimed she left without settling the tab, sparking headlines like "Housewife Dines and Dashes." Sonja pushed back, saying it was a misunderstanding, but the damage was done. The glamorous hostess had been recast as a socialite in disgrace, making excuses while venues called her out. Months later, reports emerged of an ambulance call tied to Sonja at a prominent event venue. Accounts varied. Some framed it as a trespassing dispute, others as a scene that ended with emergency responders arriving. Regardless of the details, the optics were devastating. Another headline, another chaotic scene. By late 2024, stories surfaced of Sonja being denied entry or banned outright from certain upscale establishments. When a socialite can no longer circulate in the circles she once ruled, it signals a collapse not just of image, but of status itself. The Bravo cameras used to show Sonja stumbling out of parties as comic relief. But in 2024 and 2025, those stumbles became police notes, ambulance runs, and restaurant disputes, documented, undeniable, and deeply destructive to her reputation. Sonja Morgan's business track record wasn't about one bad deal. It was a pattern. From movie financing to hospitality ventures, her projects were high-risk, high-prestige plays that often collapsed under debt. She borrowed big, bet on glamour, and when revenues failed, lawsuits and creditors followed. Defenders blamed shady partners and industry chaos. But court records show a cycle. Flashy launches, fast losses, and mounting liabilities. For Sonja, fame amplified the wins, but couldn't hide the busts when they came. Now the murky part, the rumor mill. Once a public fall starts, gossip moves faster than court papers. For Sonja Morgan, the internet filled in every blink. Sites and fan forums spun stories about money laundering, secret indictments, explosive affairs, and dramatic backstage meltdowns. Blind items and Reddit threads repeated anonymous tips as if they were facts. Why are these stories dangerous? Because they reshape reputations without accountability. A rumor can follow a person for years. It can cost deals, alienate allies, and make legal recovery harder, even if it's never proven. Sonja Morgan's public saga contains real documented failures. It also contains a lot of unverified chatter. Distinguishing between the two is how you know what actually happened and what's just tabloid fiction. When the headlines around Sonja Morgan turned from fabulous socialite to bankruptcy debtor, the market reacted. Event planners quietly stopped booking her. Venues that once welcomed her presence began pulling back. A few restaurants even banned her after publicized incidents. This wasn't speculation. It was confirmed by managers and reported in local outlets. Sponsors, too, disappeared. Reality stars live off branded partnerships, alcohol lines, clothing collaborations, personal appearances. But controversy turns brands cold. No sponsor wants their logo attached to lawsuits, bankruptcy judgments, or viral clips of chaos. The fallout was financial and reputational. Guest appearances dried up. Speaking engagements slowed. Bravo still gave her airtime for a while, but outside the show, doors closed. And this is the bigger point. Fame can make you money only if it's stable. Sonja's instability in court, in public, even in restaurants poisoned her market value. A brand that was once quirky and glamorous became associated with unpredictability, debt, and scandal. The result? Fewer checks, fewer stages, fewer chances to turn fame into income. Beyond lawsuits and headlines, there's a human toll. Bankruptcy hearings are public. Police reports get published. Every mistake becomes a headline. And every headline becomes a meme. For Sonja, that meant living under a constant glare. Public humiliation isn't just career damage. It's personal stress. Friends and family are dragged into stories they didn't sign up for. In interviews, Sonja often laughed things off, making light of chaos, playing the role of comic relief. But when court records show repeat financial collapse and public incidents, the laughter looks more like a mask. It's the survival strategy of someone whose private struggles were broadcast for entertainment. Mental health costs aren't speculation here. They're visible in the way she was covered, ridiculed, and cornered in media narratives. Tabloids don't pause to consider the human being. They amplify the downfall for clicks. The lesson is sobering. Fame magnifies mistakes and makes recovery harder. That doesn't excuse the harm caused by unpaid debts, disrupted venues, or reckless choices. But it does highlight the cost of reality TV stardom. A life where every weakness becomes public property. Sonja Morgan's dark side is not just legal and financial. It's also personal, a collapse of reputation that carried very real emotional and human consequences. Who bears responsibility for Sonja Morgan's downfall? The answer is complicated. On one hand, Sonja made risky business decisions. She entered into film financing ventures with little margin for error, leveraged her assets, and signed contracts that exposed her to multi-million-dollar liability. These were her choices. And the courts made clear she was accountable for unpaid obligations. But there's another side. Partners in the film financing deal accused her of breaching commitments, while defenders argued she was misled or exploited. Bankruptcy trustees and courts intervened not because she was uniquely reckless, but because the system is designed to protect creditors, often at the expense of celebrity debtors. Then there's the network factor. Reality television rewards instability. Outlandish behavior, reckless spending, public meltdowns. These all make for good TV. Bravo thrived on the spectacle of Sonja's chaotic life. Yet, when the consequences turned serious, bankruptcy trustees, lawsuits, police reports, the network could wash its hands, insisting it was just entertainment. The bigger lesson is structural. A celebrity platform magnifies risk. In business, visibility can help secure deals. But without governance, oversight, or professional management, the same spotlight amplifies every collapse. Sonja Morgan wasn't just a reality star who fell into debt. She was also part of a system that glamorized excess, encouraged risk-taking, and then distanced itself when the bills came due.